It's meme stocks round 3. Both AMC and GameStop popping back on the radar as of yesterday, catching all kinds of attention when it comes to Wall Street bets on Reddit again. Here we go again. Let's bring in Neil and Arun to discuss how to approach, guys. This is officially, I think we can say, round 3 for AMC and GameStop.
It absolutely is. And I think, first things first, you got to get it out of the way. When you're trading, there's technical analysis. There's lots of things that you can look at. And you throw a little bit of that out the window. There's some things that you can lean on for sure. But these are extreme situations. A lot of it has to do with that short squeeze or gamma squeezes, which we like to talk about in the options market. So you have different types of momentum here, Brendan. And like I said, you throw some of your old things out the window. There are patterns that we're able to talk about, and we're going to go through the last couple of days and show you exactly how you can take advantage of these parabolic style moves, which everyone wants to be a part of.
Yeah, when it comes to these stocks, like round 3, you said, Brendan, it's just one of those things where you got to understand that momentum stocks have ebb and flow, right? They're basing off on news, yes, but they're also just on interest as well. Sometimes it dies down after the price kind of settles into a certain area, and then the price starts moving out of that area. All of a sudden, it's back in play. Everybody wants to play it. Volume spikes, and here we go again. AMC up 7.6% today. And here's the interesting thing, what Neil said about technical analysis, right? This is something that I saw today. With AMC, when we got to 1420, you have to understand there's other things than just high prices. You have to understand about stops, triggers. When you get above 14 and you go after a stop, like around 1420, and you fail right back down, there's a lot of people that are caught long because they want to play the momentum game. But you have to understand it changes. Just the same way volume changes in a stock and the interest changes in a stock, so does the decision for whether you want to play momentum or technical. And sometimes you throw the technicals out the window and you go with momentum. A lot more than not, or more often than not, you go with the actual technical. In this case, it was a complete technical disaster for anyone who was taking the momentum breakout because it just came right back down after the stops were triggered. And that's something you analyze on these stocks. You have to analyze them. You have to look at them. You have to understand how they operate. And GME and AMC, on and off we go until this all settles down. I don't think you're going to have it here the end of it. There might be a part 4, part 5, part 6 of these stocks back in play.
All right, so a couple of things to note here and a couple of things to be aware of. If you're going to kind of venture back into these, we mentioned, on the technical side of things, what to be aware of. One important note, guys, and this is kind of what kicked off this whole frenzy going back to the end of last year, and that's short interest, right? So currently, AMC looking at a 17.4% short interest. So you take the entire free float, that means 17.4% of that free float is going to be loaned out and currently short in the market. If we start to see, as Neil, you were mentioning, some of the options plays going in that direction and people starting to cover, what do we look at here as far as a potential upside?
What I tend to look for is you treat the consolidations a little bit differently. You treat the dips a little bit differently. I'll go back to what was the first day in the move, and you had a squeeze of the upside, and fine, like maybe it's not on your radar and you don't catch an 11 break. It's a clean, like pre-market high breakout. But then we get this tight consolidation off of VWAP, off of like a 1235 high. It sort of makes that nice little, you can call it a flag, whatever you want. You can call it a wedge before breaking out at that high of the day. Now, all well and good to watch that break and then anticipate it could do the same thing the next day. I always find it's just as important when you finally find the top that Arun mentioned. That's going to wick. Look, that wick there is going to crush a lot of longs. They're going to get long on a trigger on a break of like 14 and then get slammed. That's going to be covering down for $1. Where does it settle down? Settles right back down at the end of the day at that original breakout price, right? Like shorts that have put in, they're like, they got to cover. They want to think about short-term covering in front of that obvious level. And then what I care about the following day is, can we hold above that range? Top to bottom, you're looking 1220 to 1280. And it's not about necessarily guessing where the turn is going to be, but it's about making an educated guess at what other traders are going to be looking at for both covering shorts when you get a failure at the same lower high, And then also, where do people want to buy that dip? And if people are looking at that bottom at 1225, sometimes it's worth it to identify the top end of the range to get that second break. Because on day 2 of this move, it wasn't necessarily the same obvious setup where you got that pre-market high break giving you the money. It was the dip trade into that pullback range at the end of the day. So I always sort of, usually when you're trading, you go back to those higher time frames, you pull up your 15-minute, your 60. A lot of times, you just go back a day or two into the beginning of the move, what is recent memory for a lot of short-term traders. You keep it as simple as possible. Technicals can matter, but you don't make it too complex when you're dealing with one of these short squeezes. And I find you can find those little pivot points or turnarounds a little bit easier. And as we mentioned here, Arun, like you said, that 14 top break, I mean, it was pretty ugly, not a very clean move before. It's even uglier today. I mean, like at least a dozen times it's tested through 14 and unable to get back to that 1450 mark. So you kind of look at that and you have to be able to learn that lesson from the previous day's action.
Yeah, you look at a stock, you look at the chart, you think, oh, maybe this is a level, that's a level. Why is it flirting around with 14 so often? We got to go back with what Brendan was saying. When it comes to options, there's a lot of games being played in the options that as traders, we may not be fully aware of. And there are certain pegs and interest levels on options that the stock would gravitate towards. And it's entirely possible there's a lot of activity on the options game around 14 as well. So there's so many things that you got to pay attention to. You can either go with the momentum, or if you decide to go with the technicals, you have to understand there's more to that than just what you see on the chart, especially with these meme stocks. The amount of plays just in the options game itself, because that's where majority of players are, because just in terms of price, right? Yeah, AMC is $15 and GME is 100 something. But for everyone who wants to be involved but can't afford the prices, they're playing the options, and you have to understand that that dictates the movement of the stock itself sometimes. And there's so many different things that move these momentum stocks, and we only see what's in front of us on the chart. But just understand there's more to it than what we see.
All right, so understand exactly what your time frame is here, going forward. If you're looking at a couple of days or maybe a week or 2 weeks down the road to kind of see where this move is going to end up, understand that you have to give it a little more room, and understand that there are some outside forces at work here that are going to come into play. And I want to give you an example of that. If we go back to yesterday, it was about this time of day where we got that brand new high, and then it got absolutely flushed. We learned quickly after that that AMC actually came out with a share offering in the middle of the day, taking advantage of this new attention and this new and latest move back to the upside. So big volume again today on AMC and GameStop. Where will round 3 end? We'll find out. Let's go to Valeria.
Hey guys, thank you for this great information. Dear viewers, please subscribe to this channel to see more